and I'm honored to introduce our speaker today, Professor Yotam Margalit, who's a professor of political science at Tel Aviv University. Yotam is a leading scholar on the topic of globalization, and he is also a senior fellow in the Israel Democracy Institute's Economic Reforms Program. Today, he'll present a co-authored article about the political consequences of green policies, which was published in the American Political Science Review in 2024.
First of all, we want to know, does the introduction of green policies actually affect the way people vote? And the second is, to what extent is the political response a function of the policy's distributive implications? And I think that this is not an obvious question, because if you think about it, even if some peoples are, winners or losers from these policies, you could imagine that the losers would say, okay, maybe I'm taking some hint, but this is actually a good thing for the environment, for the planet. And so the fact that being a loser in terms of financial costs translating into votes, I don't think it's an obvious answer, and this is in part what we're looking at. And then there's the question of who benefits from the anti-green backlash and what exactly is driving that. What's the mechanism? What we saw here is that residents affected by Area B policy, car ban, were subsequently a lot more likely to vote for this right-wing populist party, the Lega. We see that the shift to Lega was not a result of left-leaning voters abandoning the party, but rather we see some kind of coalescence of voters that were not committed to the major parties before. Affected car owners did not become more hostile to environmental issues, neither globally nor to regional ones, but rather what we seem to see here is that residents seem to be responding to the perceived unfairness of the policy and the fact that it had adverse pocketbook implications.
So my question is, have you considered whether non-financial compensations like public recognition, more access to alternative public transportation, or offering community benefits could help reduce community political backlash? How do you think these would work compared to financial compensations?
I think we need to separate between two things. The ones that for people that are losing economically, I think we really need to think about economic compensation and assistance. And there, I don't really think that recognition or any type of those kind of alternative approaches would really solve the problem. What I do think, and this is another area that I'm really interested in, and anybody here that's interested in working on that, those are, I think, really worth thinking about, is really, and what does it mean to assist a community on those non-economic aspects? So not pecuniary, the government transferring to you 2,000 or 4,000 euros as Milan did for those people with banned cars. But if we have those communities that are adversely affected or that are being or have a sense of being left behind, what is the type of assistance that we can do on those cultural or non-purely economic dimensions that would strengthen people's sense of together, of not being shunned by the elites? And that is a really difficult question. I'm not sure I have good answers for it. And I think that this is really one of the more interesting and policy relevant questions that we need to be thinking about in the coming years. And so